my seniors and my dear friends. Today I am going to speak on a very natural instinct which God has gifted us mothers and babies, and no animal needs lecturing on breastfeeding, but why do we need a talk on breastfeeding? I think it is because what I have gone through is due to our advancement in civilization. We think that anything new, anything which is not so primitive as breastfeeding, we feel it is a very primitive method. People have taken up other methods of feeding the babies, and it has been seen that in 1920s, 30s, from the time the ladies have started working, there has been a decline from 80% to 20% in America of breastfeeding ladies. So therefore, the World Association of Breastfeeding has adopted this initiative of having a week in a year from August 1st to 7th to celebrate World Breastfeeding Week, so that we can develop our own objectives and we can improve and initiate mothers to encourage them to breastfeed their babies. This year the slogan is understanding the past and planning the future, and the objectives of World Breastfeeding Week are to recall what has happened in the past 20 years on infant and young child feeding, to celebrate the success and achievements nationally, regionally and globally, to assess the status and implementation of the global strategy for infants and young child feeding, to call for action to bridge the remaining gaps which we are trying to do, and to draw public attention on the state of policy and programs on breastfeeding and IYCF. Though it is the perfect gift to mankind, then why should we worry? You must be aware that most of our mothers, they do not initiate feeding within the first 24 hours, and they discard, most of them discard the colostrum because they think this is not milk, this is something which is liquid, which is not going to benefit my baby, so why should I feed my baby on this? So they give them pre-lactal feeds. So these are the things we have to initiate in the mothers and convince them, and that's why 75% give pre-lactal feeds. Many feel milk is inadequate. They think that my milk is not sufficient and they start off feeding, especially from the 3rd or 4th day, and most discontinue within the first 10 days. Though Dr. Selgupta has told you what are the benefits to the mother, so unless I tell the mother during my antenatal checkup that what are the benefits to her in addition to the baby, then she will not be so much convinced to breastfeed her baby. So you know that once this initially Dr. Stetch is going to tell you that there's a reflex which goes on in the mothers, the neurohormonal axis, that as soon as the baby feeds, there's more oxytocin released from the posterior pituitary, more uterine retraction, contraction, there is involution, and naturally there will be less bleeding, secondary PPH, all this can be avoided. And it reduces, it has been seen that if you breastfeed a baby totally for 1 year, you reduce the incidence of breast and ovarian cancer by 4% for every year of breastfeeding. So these are the importance or the benefits which we can convey to the mother so that she is really convinced to breastfeed her baby. And we can delay a new pregnancy. It is already accepted natural method of contraception, LAM it is called, lactation amenorrhea method of contraception. So we can actually, it is not a method we recommend to mothers, but this is a method when they don't accept any other method of contraception. This is a natural method which God has gifted to mothers who actually don't follow any contraception. If she breastfeeds regularly, morning, night, at regular intervals, there is pulsatile release of prolactin, so she is not going to ovulate, and it has been seen only 0.5% of regularly lactating mothers, they actually conceive within the first 6 months. So, and then she of course will lose her pre-pregnancy weight because there's more loss of calories when she's breastfeeding. And conservation of iron and prevents anemia in mothers by prolonged amenorrhea. So if we can convince the family that the better health of the baby is going to be a well-being for the whole family, and there's less infection, there'll be less cost of artificial feeding. So these are the benefits in addition to the real benefits which breast milk provides. Who actually is responsible for all this? We obstetricians of course, but it's a joint venture by obstetricians, health workers, sisters, nursing personals, pediatricians, neonatologists, and I think the family welfare department. We all are equally responsible to convince them. But what happens to the mother? Even after she has delivered, even after 6 months, she'll come back to the obstetrician. Sister behind will be vouching for this. Even if we tell them Dr. Sethi is sitting downstairs, they will come back to us and say, no, you please check my baby once. So they place so much of trust in the obstetrician because they think that she has handled me this 9 months and the doctor cannot tell me anything which is wrong for me and for my baby. So we have a lot of responsibility actually to counsel them. She comes to us for 6 to 7 visits. So at least for one visit we can examine her breast. We can counsel her during that short time. We are very hard pressed for time, but I think this much effort we can make, and today I am here only for that. Some of the common problems which we face are enlisted here, like breast engorgement. This is very common in 50% of the women. They on the first or second, especially on the third day, in fact, when the actual mature milk starts collecting in the breast, the lady suffers from very hard, painful breast and little bit of malaise, fever. So the way we can tackle this is actually, we can use ice packs. We can show her how to manually express the milk, because hard press the baby is not going to accept the milk. The baby is not going to start sucking. So we have to express the milk. Maybe we have to use some breast pumps. They are manually expressed breast pump or electrical breast pumps, and we can give her a proper postnatal bra which are available, brassiere, which can support the breast, because the breasts are very tender, very painful, and the mother gets demotivated and she is very exhausted with all this. This is one of the outcomes of not proper antenatal care of the nipples, not proper counseling, and improper sucking of the breast. As Dr. Mudita has told you, that improper latching can also cause cracking and soreness of the nipple. So mothers have to be motivated that you just apply Nano-Lin, use the nipple sheet for some time, but don't stop breastfeeding. It's going to go away in 1 or 2 days. You don't have to start any other feed for this. You can feed her with the other nipple, with the other breast, and this is going to pass off in 1 or 2 days. Retracted nipple. This is something which is it is a temporary disfigurement of the nipple, and the mother gets very distressed. She's very psychologically upset because when other mothers are feeding, she thinks this is an anatomical defect which she's born with and it's not going to go. And these are the things in the antenatal clinic we can actually examine, and we can show her how to manually take out her nipple and massage it, and maybe we can use a syringe. This is a very interesting thing which we have learned in our post-graduation, and Dr. Raha had introduced this in our hospital. Just you cut this 10 cc syringe, you take this. It is not here in this slide. I had introduced a slide which shows how actually you do it. You cut the nozzle end of this 10 cc syringe and you reverse the syringe and you press it against this retracted nipple, and you give a negative suction. It creates a vacuum and a negative suction, and the nipple actually comes out. And you do this gently many times a day, and then you apply a nipple shield, and slowly after maybe 3-4 days, 5 days, the nipple comes out, and you can use a breast pump also, take out the milk, because it becomes very hard and painful. Again, engorgement is a vicious cycle basically. Mastitis is again the outcome of cracked sore nipple, which causes entry of pathogens, especially Staphylococcus aureus, and it needs very early treatment. This is actually mastitis, reddening and diffuse reddening and tenderness. But unless you tackle this with proper antibiotics in the right time, this is going to land you in breast abscess. And breast abscess is something. Both of these are not a contraindication to breastfeeding. That we must actually stress, because there's a lot of macrophages actually present in the breast milk during this time, which is going to help the baby, and the infection must have actually come from the baby. So the baby is not going to be reinfected with this infection. And by breast abscess has to be drained, or it has to be repeatedly aspirated, USG guided. And there's always a myth in the mother that I am having insufficient milk. After you give the round, after she has completed talking to you, again she'll tell you, doctor, I think my baby is not satisfied. She's still hungry. My baby is still feeling she needs more feed. So we have to tell her, no, the milk which you have is enough for your baby. If the baby is sleeping well, if the baby is gaining weight properly, if the baby is not irritated, there's nothing for you to worry. You are not going to start any other kind of feed. You don't need to start actually. So these are some of the reasons which actually can cause reduced milk. So we have to know what are the things. Because if the baby doesn't suck, the milk is not going to come in the amount that is sufficient amount, because the let down reflex is not there, the stimulation is not there. So what happens in preterm babies, very sick babies, congenital malformations like cleft lip, cleft palate, these are the conditions in which the milk is not going to come in sufficient amount. So we must take care of those kind of babies and mothers, in where we may have to give express breast milk by spoon, or we call Jhinuk in Bengali. We can actually start feeding with that. Then there's certain, this Sheehan syndrome, it's a very rare though, especially in